Welcome back everyone, this is J7Jace bringing you a guide for all the unique playable characters in Final Fantasy Tactics, such as how their abilities work, how to recruit them, and other things. I do have a specific playlist where I go over the best builds for every character and job, so please check out the pinned comment and description if you want to make the ultimate characters. To start with, we are beginning with the main protagonist, Ramza Beouf, who is unlocked by default and has to be used in all story battles besides those 2 battles and War of the Lions. He is the only character in the game that will stay in the party if his base faith exceeds 94 or if his base bravery is 6 or less, so he can do some wild builds with him. His squire, when compared to other generic squires, has superior abilities, equipment options, and stats. Ultima though is just more for that pretty star and for completionists, and I also have videos on how to learn that, so check out the description as well. Ramza also has both male and female stat growth rates, so you can make him a mage or melee fighter, if you want. Just note that he can't equip the female exclusive equipment, which is a slight letdown. And every time his character sprite changes, he will get new abilities as well as equipment options, and this happens 3 times throughout the game. In Chapter 1, unlike other squires, he can't equip axes, but he can equip robes. He also starts off with the unique Chant, and this can heal allies at the cost of HP, which is gimmicky, and in most cases I don't recommend using it. But the best of these abilities is his unique Tailwind, as it can increase his speed or desired target speed by 1 in battle to a maximum of 50, which can easily turn the tide of fights. In Chapter 2, with Ramza's new look, he can equip heavy armor and has the ability Steel, which will increase the target's bravery, including himself, by up to 5 in battle and 1 permanently. It has a 100% accuracy rate, and it's by far superior to the Orator's Praise. I recommend learning this one, and to increase Ramza's bravery and other characters to a maximum of 97. But if you want a great treasure hunter, then I recommend having at least 1 character with low bravery. Finally, in Chapter 4, Ramza's appearance will change one last time. He can now equip Knight Swords, which are the best weapons in the game. He can now learn Shout, which will increase nearly all his stats in battle, and he can learn the Disappointing Ultima in a few battles or situations. In short, Ramza's Metal Command has some fantastic support abilities that can make him and his allies very lethal on the battleground, and I recommend learning them if you have enough JP or wants to become accessible. Because of his male and female stat growth rates and wide range of equipment options, Ramza can do a variety of things, from physical, magical, and even supporting allies. Check out my videos in the description for the ultimate Ramza builds in each chapter of the game. The second unique character that joins the party is the Machinist Mustadio, who specializes in attacking from afar with his gun with his unique ability Snipe that can disable enemy actions, immobilize them, and can even petrify undead enemies. He will join the party after the battle in Gog Machine City. I also don't recommend removing him from the party or allowing him to die, as he is needed for nearly all side quests in the game. And in order to increase the success rate of his abilities, you want a higher speed stat, as the success percentage is the speed stat plus 50 for arm and leg shot, and speed stat plus 70 for Steel Evil. Regular gun damage is based only on weapon power, so increasing your PA will do nothing. But you can further increase this damage with attack boost from the Geomancer or Vehemence from the Dark Knight. Later on into the game, you can also use magic guns. To get an early glacial gun, steal it from this chemist in the Beowulf side quest at Golan. Just make sure he doesn't have Safeguard though. You can increase his space stat with the Orator's Preach ability. Just make sure to use a character with good or best Zodiac compatibility with him for better results, and not to go above 94 faith, as he will leave the party. Then put on Arcane Strength or Vehemence to increase his magic gun damage, and also an accessory that will boost the elemental of your choice. Just note that some enemies will take increased bonus damage to certain elements, and some will take decreased damage. The next character to join the party is Ivalice's next top model. She will join the party after saving her in the battle at Balia's Swale, and make sure she isn't KO'd. For Agrias, her Holy Sword ability damage is based on her PA times weapon power, with their stronger abilities doing slightly more damage. So ideally, equip items that will give PA and the strongest swords or knight swords, as she will also need these weapons in order to use Holy Sword. I found Hollowed Bolt the most versatile of these abilities because of its range, so I recommend learning it first if possible. Because she is also female, you can take advantage of the exclusive equipment for ladies, which I highly recommend later on into the game, as enemies are stronger and can inflict a wider variety of negative status ailments. Her unique Holy Knight has solid HP and MA growths, so she can also make a strong mage or tank. However, you can level her up as a ninja instead though if you want her to have slightly better PA and speed. Lastly, please keep Mustadio and her two knights, Alicia and Labian, as you will need these three characters in order to get the best accessory in the game, Tyner Rouge. Exclusive only to the War of the Lions version, Luso Clemens was originally from Final Fantasy Tactics Advance 2. He's basically a Ramza clone with his abilities and equipment options. However, he will leave the party if his bravery gets too low or if his faith gets too high. However, unlike Ramza, his MA isn't as good, but he has a passive poach ability, and he can learn Shout as soon as you get him. For these reasons, Luso isn't a bad choice at all, and even comes with some better than normal equipment when he joins, so you can take advantage of these items. You can recruit Luso after the mandatory battle at Zeklos Desert in Chapter 3. The next two characters that will join are Rafa and Merrick, right after the battle at the top of Riovane's castle when Chapter 4 begins. They are sometimes considered some of the worst characters in the game because their attacks were so random in the PS1 version. However, in the War of the Lions remaster, they are better due to their attacks favoring the center tile and can even strike a few more times. Combine this with some of the new items in this remastered version and they are very deadly. Rafa's stats in Skyseer aren't that great besides her speed, but to power up her Sky Mantra, I recommend equipping items that will increase her MA and having an item that will boost elemental damage, as a lot of her attacks have a particular element. I also recommend lowering her faith stat, as having high faith doesn't actually increase the damage of her unique spells. And because she starts off with a lower bravery stat, she is often a popular character to use as a treasure hunter. I just recommend lowering her bravery a bit more for a higher success rate. Now for Merrick, in my opinion, he isn't nearly as good as his sister. His Nether Mantra's damage is based on his MA and also how low his faith stat is, as well as target's faith stat. To me, he is inferior to Rafa in every way besides his one extra move. To make better use of him, lower his faith stat, and equip items that will increase your MA as well as elemental damage, and you can make him a good bit stronger. Because both are practically mages, you can't use their abilities when silenced, and support abilities like Arcane Strength and Swiftness are fantastic choices, and the ones I recommend. Lastly, I also found using their first two abilities best, as they did more than enough damage and can be casted the fastest. Beowulf is an optional character who I recommend getting, and you can get him as soon as Chapter 4 begins. Head to GOG for a cutscene, then go to Golan and read the rumor called The Haunted Mine at the Tavern. From here, you want to head to Lasalia for a cutscene with Beowulf. Make sure you choose the second option to accept his invite, and after the series of battles at Golan, you can recruit him. Even though he is a knight, nearly all his unique abilities' success rate is highly dependent on how high his faith stat is, so I recommend increasing it with Preach from the Order. Just make sure to have good or best Zodiac compatibility with him. I personally found Drain, Break, and Sleep to be his most useful abilities. And if you want to make him a deadly physical attack character, give him a Knight Sword and further increase his bravery stat. Along with Beowulf, you can recruit the Holy Dragon Raze. She is similar to other dragons minus the physical attacks. However, she has all three elemental breath attacks and she can absorb Holy. And a bit later, we will discuss more on her unique human form. After recruiting these two characters, from here, go back to GOG to continue the side quest and you will recruit another unique character, a monster, in particular Construct 8. He has passive Atheist, Counter, Defense Boost, and his attacks are based on his PA stat, which is pretty high. If you want to strengthen him further though, I recommend using Steel from Ramza to increase the chances of his reaction ability Counter, which will also increase the damage of it as well. Now, in order to recruit the next unique characters, we need to progress further in the story. In order to recruit Balthier, who is exclusive to the War of the Lions remaster, you need to have defeated Melidal at the free city of Brevenia. Then, after the battle, either visit Garland, Golan, or Lassalia, and read the Rash of Death's rumor. After, head to Dorter and go into the tavern. Read the rumor, a call for guards, and try to leave Dorter, where you will have a cool cutscene and battle. This fight should be easy, but just be a little careful as Ramza starts off a bit forward. Balthier will join with Raz Aljathai and Mirage Vest, which are a one-of-a-kind if you're on the mobile version of the game. Balthier is very mobile with 4 base move and jump. He has a very good speed stat and can equip a variety of things. He's essentially a better version of Mustadio and Thieves with a built-in safeguard. I suggest building him as some kind of physical attacker and learning his plunder abilities, which have a higher steal percentage than the Thief's steal, and Barrage to do great damage. For these reasons, he is one of the best characters in the game and arguably the best. Now, for the strongest character in the game, Orlando. You can recruit him after the series of battles at Fort Besala. His wonderful stat growth in practically all areas can equip not only heavy armor, but clothing and hats as well. On top of this, he comes with Excalibur and has access to Fel, Holy, and Divine Knight abilities. To make him even stronger though, I recommend increasing his bravery and equipping items that will further boost his PA for even more insane damage, as all his sword attacks are based on his PA and weapon power, and the abilities I recommend learning first or using primarily are Hollow Bolt for its range, Shadow Blade for self-healing, and Crush Weapon to break the weapons of stronger enemies. Just note that the Crush skills won't work on enemies with Safeguard, and in the PS1 version, monsters are immune to these techniques. To get Reyes and her human form, you need to have completed the battles at Fort Besala and rescued Orlando, and a few other things. That's why I listed him first. I do recommend some preparation and a treasure hunter with low bravery, and to use Construct 8 for this next battle, as there is a very good and one-of-a-kind shield which you can miss out on forever. But if you are ready, head to Zoltenia Castle and enter the tavern and read the rumor about Nobeska Temple. A new area point on the map should open up, but before that, enter the trade city of Salgidos, where you will have a cutscene with Aerith. Just make sure you buy the flower, so pick the second option. After this cutscene, make your way all the way back to Gog for a scene, and when ready, head to Nobeska Temple for the fight. After defeating Construct 7, there will be a scene where Reyes will turn back into a human. Reyes is one of the most unique characters as her equipment options are extremely limited, but she has wonderful stat growths in nearly all areas, and she has a number of passive abilities, from Dual Wield, Tame, Beastmaster, and Beast Tongue. Her support abilities only buff dragons, but they have a 100% accuracy rate. To make the most of her dragonkin, I recommend leveling up primarily as this job, and to get the female exclusive equipment such as Ribbon, Minerva Bustier, and give her Tyner Rouge or Japamala to further increase her breath damage. Her best damaging ability is Holy Breath by far. It's just like Rafa and Merrick's abilities, but better since it has no cast time and she can use it even when silenced. Make sure to target an enemy in the center tile for more accuracy if you're on the War of the Lions version, as it's completely random on PS1. Now to recruit Cloud Strife. After turning Reyes back into her human form, head all the way back to Gog where there will be a cutscene. From here, you want to go all the way back to the trade city of Salgidos for a battle. Make sure Cloud doesn't die here and he will join the party after. Sadly, he is the most disappointing unique character and starts at level 1. On top of this, his stats aren't great overall, his limits are way too slow, and you need the mediocre Materia Blade equipped in order to use his limits. Not to mention, he has to be a soldier in order to use them as well, so you can't use limit as a secondary. But if you really want to, you can get the Materia Blade from Mount Brevenia at the highest point. Just make sure you have a character with Treasure Hunter and a jump stat of 4. And almost all of Cloud's limit break damage is dependent on how high his MA is, and to reduce his charge time, swiftness or quick charge is recommended. but even then, don't expect to see any of them landing often. But if you really want to use Limit with Cloud, I recommend finishing Touch, as it's probably his best limit due to its faster charge time and negative status ailment inflection. Melidel is the last character in the main story to join the party. Her stats are solid overall, and her unyielding blades damage is based on her PA and weapon power, with Crush Armor and Crush Helm being the strongest damage-wise. Just another reminder that her abilities won't work on enemies with Safeguard, and on the PS1 version, monsters are immune to her abilities. She can equip clothing and even polearms, and crossbows. Although I don't recommend ever using crossbows, especially at this point in the game. She often gets overlooked because of Orlando and Agrias, but I recommend her in nearly all party setups, and you won't ever regret using her. For the last unique character, it's the Byblos. You can recruit him in the final floor of Midlight's Deep. Just make sure he survives, and to also learn Zodiarch here from the super boss, as this is missable. Byblos' zodiac sign isn't fixed, so you can keep resetting to the one you're most fond of if you like. You can't really power up his abilities as they are RNG based and have a set amount of damage. Even though he has counter, passive poach, and ignore height, he isn't all that special. But if you really want to strengthen him, increase his bravery to 97, just like any monster. When I use him, Parasite can be good with great RNG, but I still don't recommend him for the most part as he's just too slow and not really mobile. These are how all the unique characters work in Final Fantasy Tactics, from their specific abilities, damage formulas, how to recruit them, as well as other information about them. And if you want to see their ultimate builds in the game, please check out my playlist, which revolves around builds in this game. As always, J7Jace here, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time with more Tactics videos. Take care.